You think you are having a conversation with your African parent. You are not. You are in a negotiation you did not know you entered, and you are losing. Your mother asks you what time you will be home. Seems like a simple question. It is not. It is a negotiation tactic called anchoring. Your father tells you his friend's son became a doctor. Seems like a casual comment. It is not. It is strategic framing. African parents are master negotiators. They did not read books on negotiation. They did not take courses. They learned these tactics from survival, from markets where every shilling mattered, from systems that required you to fight for everything, from communities where negotiation was the only way to get anything. And now they use these same tactics on you. You think they are just being difficult, just being traditional, just being unreasonable African parents. But they are doing something far more sophisticated. They are using the exact same negotiation tactics that FBI hostage negotiators study, that business executives pay thousands to learn, that salespeople use to close million-dollar deals. Your parents mastered these tactics without ever knowing their names. You are about to see every conversation you have ever had with your parents differently. You are about to realize you never stood a chance. Because while you thought you were just talking, they were deploying strategies that professional negotiators study for years. 10 tactics. Your parents use all of them, most of them in the same conversation, and you never even noticed. Anchoring. Your mother asks what time you will be home. You say midnight. She says 9. You negotiate to 11. You think you won. You did not win. She anchored you. Anchoring is when someone sets the first number in a negotiation. That first number becomes the reference point for everything that follows. Every other number is judged against it. The entire negotiation orbits around that first position. Your mother never actually expected you home at 9. She wanted you home at 11. But if she had said 11 first, you would have negotiated to 1 in the morning. So she started at 9. You counted. You compromised. You landed exactly where she wanted you. This works everywhere. Market vendors do this. They tell you the price is 5,000. You offer 2,000. You settle at 3,000. You walk away thinking you won. The item was worth 3,000 all along. They anchored you at 5, so 3 would feel like victory. Real estate agents do this. They list a house high. You offer low. You meet in the middle. The middle was their target price all along. You just think you negotiated because you did not pay the asking price. African parents learned this in markets and villages where negotiation was survival, where the first person to name a price had the power, where starting high meant ending where you needed, where anchoring was not a tactic. It was how you fed your family. Your parent is not being unreasonable when they start with an extreme position. They are being strategic. They know you will counter. They know you will negotiate. So they start far from where they actually want to land. And you negotiate right into their target. Here is what this does to you. You think you have freedom. You think you negotiated. You think you won something. But you ended up exactly where they wanted you from the beginning. You just feel good about it because you fought for it. Because you think it was your idea. Anchoring makes you negotiate against yourself while thinking you are negotiating with them. Mirroring. You tell your parent you want to study art. They do not yell, they do not argue. They just repeat back to you, calm and neutral. You want to study art. Not a question, not an argument, just repeating your words back to you. And suddenly you are explaining yourself. Suddenly you are justifying. Suddenly you are defending a decision you felt confident about 5 seconds ago. Mirroring is when someone repeats your last few words back to you. It sounds simple. It feels almost stupid. It is devastatingly effective. When someone mirrors you, your brain automatically tries to explain. You feel compelled to fill the silence that follows. You feel like you need to justify what you just said, so you keep talking. And the more you talk, the more you reveal. The more you reveal, the weaker your position becomes. Your parent does not need to argue with you. They do not need to say studying art is a bad idea. They just need to repeat it back to you. You want to study art, and you will argue with yourself. You will list all the reasons it might not work. You will expose every doubt you have. You will give them every piece of ammunition they need without them asking for it. Professional negotiators use this to get information. FBI hostage negotiators use this to build rapport and extract details. When you mirror someone, they keep talking. They tell you things they did not plan to tell you. They give you leverage to use against them later. African parents learned this from listening, from communities where silence and repetition were tools, where making someone explain themselves was more powerful than arguing with them, where elders did not debate. They reflected your words back until you heard how they sounded. Here is what this does to you. You start every conversation confident. You end every conversation having talked yourself out of your own position, and your parent never even made an argument. They just repeated your words, and your own voice became your opposition. Mirroring turns you into your own enemy. If you are starting to feel like every conversation was a setup, you are right, and it gets worse. Open-ended questions. Your father does not ask if you are doing well in school. He asks, how is school going? Notice the difference. One is a yes or no question. The other is an invitation to talk. You do not ask yes or no questions if you want information. You ask questions that make people explain. Open-ended questions cannot be answered with yes or no. They require explanation, they require detail, and the more you explain, the more control the other person has. How is school going opens the door. You start talking. You mention one class is hard. Your father asks which class. You say math. He asks why math is hard. You explain. You mention you are thinking about dropping it. Now, he knows exactly where you are struggling. He did not interrogate you. He just asked questions. And you volunteered everything. This is how negotiations work. You do not demand information. You invite it. You make the other person want to share. And open-ended questions do that perfectly. Salespeople use this. They do not ask if you want to buy. They ask, what are you looking for today? And you tell them. You tell them your budget, your preferences, your concerns. You give them the exact information they need to sell to you. Your parent is not just making conversation. They are gathering intelligence. Every answer you give is information they can use. Every detail you share becomes leverage. By the time they make their argument, they already know every weak point in your position because you told them. African parents learned this from oral tradition, from cultures where asking the right question was how you learned, where elders did not lecture, they questioned. And in questioning, they controlled the entire conversation without seeming to control anything. Here is what this does to you. You think you are just chatting. You think your parent is interested in your life. They are interested, but they are also building a case. By the time you realize you have given them everything they need to argue against your position, it is too late. The trap was set with a simple question, and you walked right in. Open-ended questions make you volunteer the evidence against yourself. Silence. You ask your mother if you can go out with friends. She does not say yes. She does not say no. She just looks at you and says nothing. Silence. The silence is unbearable. 5 seconds feels like 5 minutes. You start talking. You start explaining where you are going, who you are going with, what time you will be back, what you will be doing. You list every detail. You make promises you did not plan to make. You give up leverage you did not need to give up, all because the silence was too heavy. Silence is one of the most powerful negotiation tools. Most people cannot handle it. Most people will say anything to fill it, and the person who stays silent controls everything. Your parent knows this. They do not need to say no. Silence says no louder than words. It makes you uncomfortable. It makes you negotiate with yourself. It makes you give up more than they ever asked you to give up. Professional negotiators use silence to make the other side panic. You make an offer. They say nothing. You panic. You think they are rejecting it. So you start lowering your offer. You start adding concessions. They still have not said anything. You just gave up value because silence scared you. African parents learn this from cultures where silence is respected, where elders do not fill every moment with words, where silence carries weight and meaning, where the person who speaks first loses, where patience is power. Here is what this does to you. You walk into a conversation with a request. Your parent says nothing. You walk out having negotiated yourself down to almost nothing, and they never said a word. They just waited. And you folded. Because you could not handle the silence, because 5 seconds of quiet felt like rejection. So you rejected yourself before they could. Silence makes you defeat yourself while they do nothing. Labeling. Your mother does not say you are being disrespectful. She does not yell. She just says quietly, "It seems like you do not care about this family anymore." Notice what just happened. She did not accuse you. She labeled what she sees. Labeling is when you name the emotion or motivation you see in someone. It sounds like understanding. It is control. When your parent labels what you are feeling or thinking, they are doing two things. They are showing you they see you, and they are defining your position for you. It seems like you do not care about this family. Now you have to defend yourself against that label. Now you have to prove you do care. You are no longer arguing about whether you can go out. You are arguing about whether you love your family. The entire negotiation just shifted. This works because labels are hard to fight. If someone says you are selfish, you can argue. But if someone says it seems like you are being selfish, you cannot argue. They are just observing. They are just naming what they see. And now you have to prove the observation wrong. This shifts the entire negotiation. You wanted to discuss one thing. Now you are defending your character. And in defending your character, you give up what you originally wanted. Because keeping your character intact feels more important than winning the argument. Professional negotiators use labeling to diffuse tension or to reframe arguments. You label someone's fear. You label someone's concern. It seems like you are worried about cost. Now the negotiation is about addressing that worry. It is no longer about the original issue. African parents learned this from community dynamics, from cultures where saving face mattered, where naming what someone feels is a way to guide them, where labeling shame or pride was how you shaped behavior without direct confrontation. Here is what this does to you. You enter the conversation wanting permission. You exit the conversation trying to prove you are not a bad child. You give up your goal to defend your identity, and your parent never directly said no. They just labeled what they saw. And you spent all your energy fighting the label instead of fighting for what you wanted. Labeling changes what you are negotiating about without you noticing. Framing. Your father does not ask if you want to visit your grandmother. He asks, do you want to visit your grandmother this weekend or next weekend? Notice what just happened. You did not get to decide if you are visiting. You only get to decide when. Framing is when you control the options someone can choose from. You make it seem like they have a choice, but every choice leads to the same outcome. Do you want to study medicine or law? Both options mean you are not studying art. Do you want to come home at 10 or 11? Both options mean you are coming home. The frame limits your choices. You think you have freedom. You do not. You have the illusion of freedom within a predetermined boundary. This is how African parents give you choices that are not really choices. You feel like you decided. You feel like you had control. But the frame was set before you even spoke. The real decision was already made. You were just allowed to pick the details. Politicians do this. They do not ask if you want the policy. They ask if you want version A or version B of the policy. Both versions mean the policy passes. You just get to feel like you participated in democracy. Professional negotiators frame conversations to control outcomes. They do not ask if you want the deal. They ask if you want option A or option B of the deal. Both options mean you are taking the deal. You just get to pick the flavor. African parents learned this from scarcity, from environments where you do not get everything you want, where compromise is survival, where giving limited options is kindness because at least there are options, where no choice meant no respect, but unlimited choice meant chaos. Here is what this does to you. You walk away thinking you made a choice. You think you had agency. You think you were heard. But the real decision was made before you entered the room. You were just choosing between paths that all led to the same destination. And you feel good about it because choice feels like power, even when the choice is an illusion. Framing makes you think you are free when you are being guided. You are halfway through and you probably just realized you have never won a single negotiation with your parents. The next tactics show you why you never will. Extreme demands. Your mother tells you she needs you home by 6. You know this is ridiculous. You have work until 7. You cannot physically be home by 6. So you counter. You say 8. She looks disappointed but says, okay, 6:30. You say that is still impossible. She sighs. 7:30 then. Final offer. You agree to 7:30. You think this is reasonable. You think you negotiated well. She never expected you home at 6. She wanted you home by 7:30. But if she had started there, you would have said 9. So she started extreme. And you negotiated right into her target. Extreme demands work because they reset expectations. When someone asks for something outrageous, your reasonable position suddenly seems unreasonable in comparison. So you move, you compromise. You give up more than you would have if they had started reasonable. Car dealers do this. The sticker price is 40,000, you offer 30. They act offended. They say 38, you say 32. You settle at 35. The car was worth 32. They started high, so your compromise would be their profit margin. Market vendors do this every day. A shirt costs 1,000. They say 5,000. You laugh. You say 2,000. You settle at 3. The shirt was worth 1,000. They made triple. And you think you won because you did not pay 5,000. African parents learned extreme demands from economies where negotiation was expected, where starting high was normal, where the first price was never the real price, where extreme was the opening move and compromise was the goal, where asking for what you actually wanted meant getting half of it. Here is what this does to you. You spend so much energy fighting the extreme that you do not notice you are giving up more than you should. You think 7:30 is victory because it is not 6. You do not realize 7:30 was the target all along. You fought hard and landed exactly where they wanted, and you think you won because the fight felt real. Extreme demands make your compromise their goal. Good cop, bad cop. Your father says no immediately. Absolutely not. You are not going on that trip. The conversation is over. His voice is final. His face is closed. Then your mother pulls you aside later. Let me talk to him. Maybe we can work something out. But you have to compromise. You have to give me something to work with. What if you come back a day early? What if you call every night? Give me something so I can convince him. You think your mother is on your side. She is not. She is playing a role. Good cop, bad cop is when two people work together. One is harsh, one is kind. The harsh one makes you desperate. The kind one offers relief. And in your desperation for relief, you agree to things you would never agree to otherwise. Your parents do this naturally. One parent is the hammer. One parent is the cushion. The hammer makes you afraid. The cushion makes you grateful. And gratitude makes you cooperative. Fear makes you negotiate. Kindness makes you trust. Together, they control you completely. Police use this in interrogations. One detective screams, One detective offers coffee and sympathy. The sympathetic one gets the confession, but both detectives wanted the same thing. They just used different methods. This works in business deals, in parenting, in any situation where two people can coordinate. One person is unreasonable. The other person is your ally. Your ally gets you to agree, but your ally was never on your side. They were just playing their part in a coordinated strategy. African parents learned this from community structures, from cultures where parents had different roles, where one disciplined and one comforted, where the balance between fear and love kept children in line, where mother and father were not opposing forces but coordinated powers. Here is what this does to you. You think one parent understands you. You think one parent is reasonable. So you make deals with the reasonable one. You compromise with your ally. You give concessions to help them help you. You do not realize both parents wanted the same outcome. They just used different methods to get you there. You think you have an advocate. You have two negotiators using different tactics toward the same goal. Good cop, bad cop makes you trust the person who is manipulating you. The nibble. You finally get permission to go on the trip. Everything is agreed. The negotiation is over. You won. You are packing. Then your mother mentions one small thing. Just be back by Sunday evening instead of Monday morning. Just this one small thing. You already got the big yes. This seems minor. So you agree. Then your father nibbles too. And maybe call every day just so we know you are safe. Small ask. Reasonable. You agree. Then your mother again. And maybe do not post too many pictures online. You agree. By the time you leave, the trip you negotiated is not the trip you are taking. You gave up half of what you won, one small nibble at a time. The nibble is when someone waits until after the main agreement. Then they ask for small concessions. You already won the big thing. These small things seem harmless. So you say yes. But small things add up. Death by 1,000 cuts. Victory eroded by 1,000 nibbles. Car salespeople do this. You agree on the price of the car. The negotiation is over. You are signing papers. Then they nibble. What about the extended warranty? What about the paint protection? What about the floor mats? What about the rust proofing? Each thing is small. Each thing seems reasonable after you just agreed to spend 30,000. Together, they add 5,000 to the deal. Contractors do this. You agree on the project price, then they nibble. What about the upgraded fixtures? What about the premium paint? What about the additional outlet? Small asks after a big commitment. You say yes because you are already invested. African parents nibble because they know you will defend the big win. You will not risk losing the trip over one small change. So you give it. Then you give the next one. Then the next, until the deal is unrecognizable. Until the trip has so many conditions it barely feels like freedom anymore. Here is what this does to you. You think you won. You got the main thing. But by the time you actually execute, you did not get what you negotiated for. You got a smaller, more restricted version. And you agreed to it yourself. One nibble at a time. Each concession was tiny. Together, they took back half of what you won. And you cannot even complain because you said yes to each one. The nibble takes back what was already given. Take it or leave it. You ask if you can switch your major. Your parent says no. You try to discuss it. They cut you off. The conversation is over. You either stay in this major or you pay your own school fees. Take it or leave it. No negotiation, no discussion. This is the offer. Accept it or walk away. Take it or leave it is the nuclear option in negotiation. It ends the conversation. It removes all power from the other side. You have two choices, submit or leave. There is no middle ground. There is no compromise. There is no negotiation. The line is drawn. This is it. African parents use this when they are done negotiating, when they have drawn the line, when they will not move. It is final. It is absolute. And it works because walking away is not actually an option for you. You cannot pay your own school fees. You cannot leave the house at 16. You cannot survive without them. So take it or leave it is not really a choice. It is a command disguised as an option. It is power asserting itself as freedom. Professional negotiators use this as a last resort. When they have no more room to move, when they are willing to lose the deal. It works when the other side has more to lose than you do. When walking away would hurt them more than it hurts you. Employers do this. Take the offer or we move to the next candidate. Landlords do this. Pay the rent or move out. Anyone with power does this when they want to end negotiation. African parents learned this from survival, from moments when there was no more room to give, when the line had to be drawn, when authority had to be absolute or everything would collapse, when kindness was exhausted and power had to speak. Here is what this does to you. You have no power. You have no options. You take it, and you resent it. But you take it, because leaving it means losing everything. Because the choice is not really a choice. Because take it or leave it only works when leaving it is impossible. Take it or leave it ends the negotiation by removing your ability to negotiate. 10 tactics. Your parents use all of them, some in the same conversation, sometimes all of them in one interaction. They anchor you with extreme starting positions. They mirror your words until you argue with yourself. They ask open-ended questions that make you reveal everything. They use silence to make you panic and fill the space with concessions. They label your emotions to reframe the fight. They frame your choices so every option leads where they want. They start with extreme demands so their real goal seems reasonable. They play good cop, bad cop, so you trust the one manipulating you. They nibble after you think you won. And when all else fails, they hit you with take it or leave it. You never stood a chance. Not because you are weak, not because you are bad at standing up for yourself, but because you did not even know you were in a negotiation. You thought you were having a conversation. You thought you were being heard. You thought presenting your case logically would work. You thought reason mattered. You thought fairness mattered. They do not matter in negotiation. Power matters. Leverage matters. Strategy matters. And your parents have all three. They learned these tactics from survival, from markets where every shilling mattered, from systems that did not give freely, from communities where negotiation was how you got anything, from economies where asking directly meant getting nothing, from cultures where indirect strategy was survival. Now they use them on you, not to hurt you, not because they enjoy controlling you, but because this is the only way they know how to guide, how to protect, how to parent. Negotiation is their love language. Control is how they keep you safe. Strategy is how they prepare you for a world that will negotiate with you even harder than they do. Understanding these tactics does not mean you will win. Your parents have decades of practice. They have power you do not have. They have leverage you cannot match. They hold all the cards and they know how to play them. But understanding means you can see the game. You can name what is happening. You can stop blaming yourself for losing negotiations you did not know you were in. You can stop thinking you are bad at communication when really you are just bad at negotiating without knowing you are negotiating. You are not weak. You are just up against someone who has been negotiating since before you were born. And they are very, very good at it.